Are you looking for new music from 2022 that you want to listen to help you get a good feel for music that's coming out within the year? Check out my playlist down in the description below. 2022 is on fire, where I feature my personal favorite tracks from the albums I've listened to throughout the year, whether I've reviewed it already, only written the review, or just listened to it casually. Check it out when you have the time. I'd really appreciate the support, and you might even find a band or an artist that you didn't know previously that might be a new favorite. Without further ado, let's get into the video. If there's one thing I'm always pulled in by, it's a woman with blood on her hands and power within. Welcome to A Runner Does Music, where today we're checking out the third album from Dentata called Pantychrist. I saw a lot of this artist on my Facebook feed before the release of this album came out, and I kept pushing listening to her off because I was still trying to settle all my affairs with 2021 releases. Lo and behold, it's now 2022 and I'm in even worse shape when it comes to releases I've been trying to keep up on. From what I understand, she's actually she's used to be part of a band under her last name, Dentata, who released music between 2013 and 2017 before she left the band, or the band disbanded, and she went on to do solo work. At least that's my base understanding. I've seen some conflicting reports, but the first solo release that I could find underneath her current pseudonym and name came from 2018. The older iteration of her music has a much harsher sound, leading into nearly thrash levels of metal, whereas the more recent project fuses are darker sludge metal, trap metal, or plain just metal sound, akin to something you'd find on an album from somebody like Poppy. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the songs on this album here. Trying to find information on lyrics to this album has proved to be an absolute nightmare of a task even now, when I wrote this review back in December, and this is currently April of 2022. Yes, that's a while, I know, but I still kind of find it hard to find lyrics for the album here, leaving me with only knowing the true piece-for-piece lyrics of a handful of songs, so I'll start by talking about those. The song Manic Monday, for example. It's a great look into the overall vibe this album goes out to pasture with, utilizing a very simplistic bass-heavy backing track that I feel adds to the light inclination towards a creepy feeling that the track gives. The story here seems to follow a look into her own mind, directly reflecting on the sheer feeling of helplessness, as well as a lot of reference to things that can line up with hopelessness as well. Those two general ideas are backed up really well throughout the entire song, as there's feelings of hopelessness, a lack of attraction or physical attachment to anything that come in the beginning of the song. The later half of it also focuses on a more vague and darker subject matter, and there's a really blatant line that I feel puts a clear image into your head of the fucked up situation the song tries to portray, this being the line: "I'm tweaked out, I can't eat for days, my ribs are starting to look like a cage." Whatever or whomever is causing this downward spiral has a direct, unfailing grip on her life. That last hint of desperation kicks in during the last verse. "Cry for help, hear crickets," it says. The track is as dreary as it can be and accomplishes the mission of evoking emotions to pure despair quite well. There are similar feelings on the track that immediately follows, Free, serving as a more grounded instrumental track that's devoid of the bass and focuses on a more straightforward acoustic guitar. More of the almost vacant, helpless pleas leak into the song, just asking to be what the song says, wanting to be free, wanting to be let go from the sort of cage, again, like I mentioned earlier, that they seem trapped in. It gets to a certain point where she starts to sing that she'd rather be dumb and numb than feel the pain that she's currently going through, which is very relatable to say the least. While death and some sort of ending or departing seems to come up several times throughout the course of the album, there is a sense of defiance and self-empowerment to be found in other parts of Pantychrist as well. The title track approaches death and the threat of it and rises from any dirt it could bury her in, as is referenced in the first verse. Dana confronts the struggles and overall hellish journey she's embarked on, and uses these trips, falls, and slips as fuel and ammo for her rise up from the literal and metaphorical dirt in an effort that just screams pure, unrelenting self-empowerment and just power overall. Going through this album, whether in track order or listening to it on shuffle, you might listen to this album and think to yourself, okay, this is a hopeless effort. It's one that's just begging and pleading to be set free. But there is parts of defiance and overall, again, pure power from Dentata, and lines like "Don't you ever fucking doubt me" that get repeated over and over. This album is a direct look at the struggles and unavoidable hardships that come with the worst situations that can come, with enough of a hint of fire against that structure to keep the flames kindling. Another song that has straight up fight or get fucked energy is Spit, featuring Travis Barker. I mentioned in my Atreyu review that if Travis Barker comes on an album or a song, it's either going to be fucking mental or fucking awful, but yeah, pretty good result here. I also mentioned that sometimes he's only on a song when it comes to name, as opposed to not really putting in a palpable enough piece of work into a song to make it live up to his name value, but the drumming and beats present here, especially the chorus, serve as a perfect army march that coincided with Dana's demented chanting and whispers. I especially like little lyrical moments where it's like, why should I be sorry they never found the body? It's American Horror Story level shit right there, and I love it. Outside of quick injections here and there throughout specific tracks like Free, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and select others, I do have to say the album suffers from a lot of the sameness in beats and mixing. Oftentimes I find myself losing track of the song order, so much so that the songs Happy Family and Manic Monday kind of blended together in a really distracting way. This album is at its best when it's creating songs that off of each other have very individualistic vibes and feelings, so overall feelings that separate themselves from the song that comes before or after. But a lot of the time here on the album, you listen to one song, and the other song starts without you even realizing, because things are so closely connected and sound the same. Flesh Prison is also a track, however, I will mention here, because it has a very strong instrumental based solely on the fact that it remains largely focused on sound as opposed to lyrics, and it's a nice switch up. There is singing and rapping to be found on the song, but I feel the song serves as more of a moment to create a divide in the album between parts 1 and 2, if anything else. There is one last ditch effort and success at creating something great and individual that comes in one of the last songs, this song being Apology. This song sort of wraps up all the feelings and emotions that have been present throughout the album so far in one last fighting, fist-raised rebellion. Dana is fighting for her life, and I feel like this song should have been the closing song, if anything, because the actual closing song is the very different, very odd D-Stock 99. This song is, for all intents and purposes, what would happen if Dana went into the studio, recorded half of a song in her usual demeanor and emotions, then recorded the other chorus while drunk on PBR. And it's not inherently an insult. I'm not trying to say like, oh, it's a shitty attempt, sounds like she's phoning it in because she sounds drunk or anything. No, it's because I can see her going in two very different emotions at two very different times. It's two different parts of the song that feel very different, like they were from different recording periods, is what I'm trying to say here. It does provide a really unique experience, but one that feels separated from the emotions that are communicated throughout the rest of the album, even with occasional leans and pulls back into the overall vibe that was shown off in the songs I've discussed already. I'll admit, maybe this album, and perhaps this artist overall, I may not be the right audience or the right kind of person to listen to this music and get an overall connection either personally or critically. I'll admit that. I can definitely acknowledge the love, defiance, power, and again, love this project and release received, but it's not ringing through and true to me as a compelling work beyond face value. It's good. It's got some good moments, but it's also got some moments that drag it down and make it more average as opposed to great, in my opinion. Solid songs are here, but I can't say more than just, yeah, it's pretty alright. And for those reasons and the reasons I've listed above, Pantychrist by Dana Dentata gets a 7 out of 10. And that's a review. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. You guys agree? Have you listened to this artist before? Is she new to you? Let me know. Let's get a conversation going. Have a great day. Stay hydrated. I'll see you next time.